All right, so here's my trade review slash market review from today, Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Um, didn't have the best day. Saw some decent things, but just didn't execute them. And I wrote down some reasons why I didn't execute them and what was going on a technical side of it, and then what was also going on a psychological confidence side of it. Um, but let's go over the markets here first, and then I'll go over my trades. Um, so the SPY, I feel like the SPY, the Qs, and the IWM pretty much had similar dailies. Yeah, where they all had the big wick to the bottom side yesterday, and gave that really good sort of hammer. Let's say SPY was a good one. So here's the daily. We were really bearish here, or let's just say there was a big selling day, two inside, quote unquote pullback days, right? And then let me just maybe pull this out. Yeah, so we had like you know, there's your sort of inside, your A, B, sort of like your upside down flag, and then we had the gap down yesterday, and then really right off the open we had we had a full ATR sell off right from the open, which led to a really good reversal. Actually, it was a sell from here to here, and then a really good reversal, which ended up being even more than an ATR, I think, and then closed right up here back at this level. So this level was a good level, this 465. Um, didn't really gap today. It was above it in the pre-market, but then it kind of sold back down and then opened right at yesterday's close. So really looking at it now in hindsight, I mean, I should have been more bullish. I don't know why I wasn't. I guess I was just more thinking about this new downtrend that we might be in, and this was sort of the profit taking. We were oversold. We took here, and then now today as soon as we kind of came back inside this day, I was sort of thinking we might stay in here and we might get another big rangy day. I mean, if you look back when we do have these sell-off days, the ranges, the ATRs get bigger. We know that. When we start making, bullish moves again, things become just kind of normal, smaller moves, gap ups, like these type of days. But when we sell off, then we get these big extreme pullbacks, these big sell-offs, etc. So I guess I was sort of thinking I was more in the more in the selling bias here, but you know, which is probably not terrible, but then I also needed to factor in this shooting star or this hammer, right? So it's sort of a combination of everything that we need to do to come up with a more accurate thesis. So sell down, pull back, 2 days of pullback, gap down, and then an extreme sell off. Okay, well, yeah, we did get a reversal, but we got such a good reversal that really we might even this reversal, this quote unquote profit taking might be happening a little bit longer here into today. I think I should have been saying, well, it's short here, but as soon as it gets back above 465, it's now long again, and it should be long um, probably to the top of these two inside days, at least to this one, and then maybe to this one, which is sort of what it did. So didn't really come up with that theory until later on, but I do like that a lot. I mean, I'm still thinking that as long as price doesn't keep going, we could have further downside, but um, this very well this wick could have very well this sell off and this wick could have very well been all the pullback we're going to get. Now earnings season is about to happen, and if you remember September, we had a really big sell off month. Oops, well, that was crazy. Let's zoom out here. So September, right? We had the pretty good, almost the whole month. Oh, that's pretty awesome. There we had about 6% pullback, for the whole month, and then earnings season started, and then we got this. So, I would say that what we've had recently isn't necessarily the Christmas rally. So I would say it's really just been these pullbacks, and then now we have earnings about to happen again, and we could very well get another move like that with earnings. I don't know, but that's another factor, right? Let's look at IWM. So IWM sort of the same thing. I mean, it had a bigger pullback, I think, but then it might even have had a bigger up move. Yeah, just sort of the same thing. Um, I would say IWM is the weakest of them, though. Still needs to get above 220, which are these 2 days high, and then it'll see more resistance up here at the moving averages, and then this overall sort of, I mean, this is really good resistance up here, and it has the gap. So I guess tomorrow, if I tried to sort of predict what we're going to do tomorrow, um, I really don't know. You would think that maybe the buying is going to subside a little bit. Like maybe it will hit the top of these 2 inside days, and then we will have sort of a rangy inside day today. So, okay, so let me go over my trades. AMD was my first one, and it could have been my last. It could have been my first and last. So the markets were selling off at the open, right? So this is the open right here, this red candle. Oh, you can't see it. This red candle right here. So the markets were selling off for about the first half hour. But AMD was holding. You can see it had one 5-minute sell-off candle, and it couldn't get any lower than that. So I was jumping around trying to find something. NVIDIA, AMD, they all looked very similar to me. However, I felt like AMD had the best level. If you look at here, so for AMD, right here, it's sort of similar to the SPY and NVIDIA, etc. A couple down moves, then we had a few inside days, and then we had another down move, and then we had the reversal, right? So really, I felt like anything above this, see how all those lines are really lining up there? So that 132-ish, that felt like if 132 could hold, it's going to stay inside these 2 days, and it'll continue this sort of reversal back up. Well, I didn't really stay that convicted in that idea because I got out of it, but and I'll tell you why. So yeah, so like I said, I was watching the 5-minute here, couldn't keep selling off. It started making a consolidation, this opening range. Meanwhile, the markets were going down. So I felt like, okay, once the markets potentially turn around, this could lift and go and continue its bullish move from yesterday. If you see here, this is a few days ago, the low. A few days ago, got a little bit lower, but then it was also support right here. Pre-market even gave it a little bit of extra respect here. And then yesterday saw this level, and then definitely sold off from there until it eventually closed just above it. So this is a really good level. And so I had a decent level. I had good levels on all of the NVIDIA, SPY. However, AMD seemed to be the cleanest to me. And then it also was being respected. So for like NVIDIA's case, NVIDIA had, here's a low, right? And then the other low was perfectly in line with it. So that makes that even stronger. And then you can see here that yesterday, its reversal that it didn't quite get up to that level, but it is generally in that area, right? So you could sort of make it a zone, and then it did sell off just like AMD. So to me, NVIDIA had a good level too. However, you could see how it was selling off further down past it. So that was the difference. So that's where I told myself, well, I don't really know how much this is going to, I don't know where to put my stop. So going over to AMD, it kept holding really well. So then I put in a stop right here. It ended up being $1 risk, but my targets were going to be these pink lines right here. Boom, boom. So this first target was 3-to-1. So it was $3 away from my entry. So it was 3-to-1 risk reward. And then this would have been even more, this target up here, and then it went even further. I just, but I couldn't hold on. And you know what I think it was? I think part of it was this pre-market right here. Just seeing all these fucking candles sort of bugged me. I think a little bit of, there was other things too, a little bit of recency bias from just, the sell-off last few days, being more bearish, wanting to short more. Those things come into account a little bit, but I really do think, this is the 5-minute candle. Look at all these candles here in the way, okay? So then watch this. Take out the pre-market. Look how clean that is. Look at that. Level, almost the level, 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 my level. My level looks so much better, and look how much open it is here. Just beautiful. And so, really, the pre-market levels don't matter. They don't. They have so little volume that they're worthless. The only reason that they're important is if you have breaking news in the morning, or there's just happens to be a ton of volume. Now, with these market plays every day, for the most part, there's not extra volume in the morning that's going to be a bigger impact than the opening volume. Like, these levels are way more important because they have a lot more volume. But a lot of times the pre-market levels sort of align with our levels anyway, so it's not a big deal. Like I said, sometimes I even look at the pre-market and say, okay, pre-market was also respecting my level as well as the opening, as it was the opening price volumes were also respecting it. So it kind of adds to it. But in this case, and so you can see here that really pre-market high was aligning up well with my target up here too. So that was good. But all of this didn't really matter. If you zoom in on this, look, this is pretty low volume. And sure, it comes up a little bit. So what I'm saying is, unless you need the pre-market levels, because this, like I said, it has a ton of volume or whatever, or say all these candles were really lining up to make something like very clear and precise here, like its own separate level, its own separate consolidation, then yeah, you can put that into account a little bit. But in this case, this was just price going from my level, my target up here, which is a key level, on its way down to where it went, which was down here. In between, it didn't matter, right? We go from level to level, from key level to key level. So what I'm saying is if the pre-market's sort of fucking you up a little bit, like it was for me, should have just taken it away, because it really doesn't matter. So I think I learned something today from that. And I do have my 60-minute over here does not include the pre-market, but I feel like I'm not using that all that much. So, I might try and mess with this no pre-market action here. But I think it's an art to it, right? So, like I said, if the pre-market might have some stuff going on, you want to keep it in there. But it's just extra noise sometimes. So, anyways, that pre-market messed me up a little bit. Opening just couldn't hold on, and took a small partial, and then just got out early and took another, closed for a small gain there, and it wasn't necessarily super clean, but the levels were clean, opening range was clean, and it didn't have anywhere else but to go up. And then once SPY was done, really it was once SPY. Actually, Powell started talking around here, so it was before Powell. So it started going up before Powell spoke. Could have gotten my first partial. Then once Powell spoke, it did that sell-off where it did a double bottom on the SPY right here. and then some volume started coming in, and SPY did not break the low. It made a double bottom with some volume, and that told me, okay, that was actually a long um, for the SPY, and as well as everything else. So this was my one and done trade. It makes total sense. Pretty much fits everything that I like to do. I just I don't know. Let me see. I wrote down some other things. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that even if I am nervous and I'm not, for whatever reason, not as convicted in this entry, if I already enter it and I'm still not convicted, why not just take some off like I did, or maybe take even more off and just hold, right? And could have added in later. Um, do I see another trade later on? Well, I think I see one right here. I think this is a new ad potentially, or when it breaks high of day, could have been an ad too. So um, yeah. So then I then tried to trade SPY a few minutes later, or I'm not sure how far later. Let me see here. So here's the pre-market because I'm kind of used to that being in there. Oh yeah, so I don't know. I guess I saw SPY. Okay, so Powell started speaking here. Price ripped up and then came back down. For whatever reason, I just thought it was gonna sell off. So I got in here, planning for the break. It didn't break. It actually bounced. And then what do you know? When volume comes in and it doesn't break your range, it usually is gonna go to the other end of the range. And in this case, it went really strongly to the other end, and then it was a long the rest of the day. So this was a good long. Just was kind of blinded by my bias there. Um, and what I noticed there from there on out, the rest of the day, I definitely did not trade confidently. And I'm realizing that when I'm not confident, I trade. My stops are super wide, or I'm risking a lot less than 1R. And when I do that, even if the trade works out and it hits my targets, because I'm so small that I don't profit, I try to hold longer. So it's just a snowball of not following my setup and my rules. So I feel like I had a good light bulb there, because I'm really having some good progress here in the last week with the yearly review, and with some good trades, and being more patient, sticking with the 5 minute chart, stuff like that, which I'm definitely going to keep doing. And so what I'm noticing is that when I do have a loss, that gets me sort of tilty, like AMD did. Um, that if I find myself tilty or emotional, I know some of the things that I do. Like I don't risk properly. I don't account for proper risk reward. So for, like, here's BABA. This was a range resistance trade, and let's see here. You zoom out. So here's the daily, right? Overall downtrend. Recently has been doing a new uptrend for the last couple weeks, right? Key level, not no key levels really. So I'm just using the last few days. Okay. So we have basically a 2.5 day counting today daily range. Okay. So I'm using this level up here, the high. This is not an A plus setup, because this level's only been used once. It hasn't been used multiple times. I want to see more up here. Um, and I also want this level to be in line with a higher time frame key level too. So overall, this was not an A plus level. This was not a 10 out of 10 level, and therefore this was not a 10 out of 10 trade. And what I did was I was doing a range resistance trade. You can see here, I saw these wicks, felt like that was good enough to have, quote unquote, bounced from that level. So I got short, which I don't think is terrible. Put my stop really wide up here. It came up, got me, and then went down. But look how wide my stop was. And so even if it, and let's see here, because the VWAP is, oh yeah, so it went through VWAP. it wouldn't have been, it just wouldn't have been a good risk reward, is what I'm saying. Um, and I chased it a bit too. So what I'm noticing is when I get, emotional or lose some of that confidence, my you know my risk reward is all messed up. My stops don't make as much sense, and I'm just not as patient. So those are good things to remember, and I'm writing them down. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to work on that, um, because there's nothing wrong with missing a move and being bummed about it, because you can just wait and see, it might come back and give you another move later. Like, I do believe if you like a trade and you like a setup and the stock's moving well, that it'll give you other setups later. And it might even come back to the same level, or it might give you another setup later. I do believe that. So, you know, I want to stay in that confident uh, mindset. Otherwise, I'm making it just really hard to come back. So Ford here did. I didn't trade Ford, but Ford did a very similar thing, I think, to AMD, and that was it had a good level that I really believed in, which was this 2350 and the 23 sort of 35. You can see here, both of them are used as support. You could use them both. You can use them as a zone. Ford sold off, but couldn't get below that. So SPY, Qs were all sort of selling off at the open. AMD couldn't get below its good level. Ford couldn't get below its good level. Once SPY and Qs and NVIDIA and AMD eventually turned around, Ford eventually turned around and wanted to move. It had good RVOL again today. It's been in play for the last 4 or 5 days, and when they're in play, they'll respect their levels and give you some good moves. And it give you a full ATR move here, from the bottom of the range almost to the top. It couldn't quite get to the top because an ATR actually doesn't get it quite to the top of 2350, but got you all the way to 2330. And even once it got above 24, it did a nice little flag here and then gave you one more move. So that was pretty cool. NVIDIA, I did try to trade along. And again, yeah, these trades are just, these are non-A plus trades. These are non-confident trades. And I'm realizing that more and more. I mean, I did see something here. There was a bid at 275. I noticed it around here, and I said, you know what, I'll like to get in long on NVIDIA if it hits that 275 bid and then immediately comes back up. It was tricky though, because if you see here, it hits 275 right here, then does come back up, but comes down one more time, comes back up, holds it, and then it's off. So, I don't know if I have an edge there. I mean, I do think that it was sort of in line with the high of day here, but I, you know, I might have gotten a few R's out of it, but just not really what I want to do. I want to use the 5 minute. I don't necessarily need to use the tape so much right now. Um, had I just used the 5 minute and gone in for a new 5 minute high right here, I might have gotten a partial up here. My target probably would have been up here, and so would have came down, wouldn't have stopped me out. So I don't know. I think, according to its ATR, I think it already moved an ATR. It had already moved all the way up, came all the way down. Like, really, where was it going to go? All the way to high of day? Probably not. So I think it was pretty much exhausted by the time it came back down here. I don't think this is really what I wanted to trade in here. I mean, you never know it's going to do this. I mean, it could have kept going, but after yesterday's move, it's hard to think it was going to do that exact same thing again. I feel like I'm talking a lot here. So yeah, and then I tried AMD for a short later for like a exhaustion pullback, and it almost worked, and I just added in and messed it up. And that's another thing I noticed, that when I'm trading on tilt a little bit, I add in more, and it's because I initially don't risk as much. So I don't risk as much, and then once I think it starts to work, then I add in, and then it messes it all up. So it's just not a good way to trade here. But yeah, I got in short here. My stop was way up here. I felt like this shoulder was going to hold, so I added in. And instead of getting out of just maybe my ad, I got out of the whole thing, and then I would have gotten a good move. Would have gotten a couple R's out of that. So, oh well. So regroup and refresh tomorrow, and I definitely plan on having a good day tomorrow. I learned a lot today, and just gonna be patient tomorrow, and let's kick some ass tomorrow. Yeah.